because they're getting ready for game day and memorizing verses and all of that kind of thing. The love ladies today, Edna Washington, Megan King, and Shirley Tuttle, and we surely do love them being there. I know I asked this question last week, but I'd like you to just raise your hand if, when you got to the end of the previous 2 chapters to this one, you actually read ahead. Just raise your hand if you did.
You can't stop reading.
Pretty good. You can't stop reading because you know something good is coming. Even when we know, especially when we know what is coming in these chapters of Genesis, we're so ready to get to the reconciliation part. Why? Because I think there's a lot of power in reconciliation, and this is going to work. It really is.
You've got it upside down.
Oh, never mind. Don't. I was trying to go backwards.
There you go.
I was, but I really am going to go backwards. Just so you know this, they don't tell you a lot about what you really need to know when you become an ATV. I mean, they do tell you a lot. But one of the things is they don't ask you the question, would you please disclose what your mechanical aptitude is on a scale of 10? Mine is -10. I can do a great landscape plan. I can design a whole house. I can paint till the world ends, but I cannot do anything mechanical. So there you go. So today's title is The Power of Reconciliation. Reconciliation is really compelling. Or the result of it is, if you think about it. Getting to that reconciled place, my nose is going to do this all day. It's really bad now because of Tom. I better hold on to that, really. Okay, and I'm going to put this in the correct hand. Yes, it's right side out. Okay. Getting to that reconciled place is quite another story for most of us. Mainly because reconciling is not easy, whether we're the initiator or the receiver of a request for reconciliation. That means we're going to have to deal with some stuff. Nonetheless, I guess the majority of us, or maybe even all, prefer harmony to disharmony and to have trouble with unresolved chords in music. I don't mind contemporary, really contemporary classical kind of music, but if you go and it ends on a dissonance, I'm just, my hair's standing up on the back of my back of my neck, and I'm kind of just quivery. I just don't like that. Maybe I'm the only one. Today's central idea. We're supposed to have one of these in CBS. It's just secret, I'm telling you. And we're gonna look at this a couple of different ways as we go through it. But I just want you to you don't have to write it down now, but think about it. When we desire reconciliation, we offer it by telling the truth about the broken relationship, kind of first to ourselves and then to whoever we're breaking with, and making every effort and personal change to restore what was broken.
You have it upside down again.
Oh gosh. Hey, yeah, but you know what? I'm so glad it goes backwards. Our aim is to be motivated toward reconciliation in any broken relationship. And the questions I want you to ponder as you're going through this, and we'll look at them again at the end. Will you seek reconciliation with God in an area of struggle or brokenness in your relationship with Him? We don't have perfect relationships with God. So we have little chips, little things that still kind of, we're afraid to go to Him, or we feel guilty, or whatever. Will you seek reconciliation where there are broken relationships in your life? I must have looked at, I don't know, 15 different definitions of reconciliation. And I'm sorry there's so many words here today. I usually have more fun things to look like. We will get there. Reconciliation involves a change in the relationship between God and man, or man and man, or in our case, woman and woman. It assumes a breakdown in relationship, a change from enmity and fragmentation. You know how you can kind of walk around feeling like not together, to harmony and fellowship. Just our reading of Genesis so far shows us amazing breakdowns in relationship between brothers, between fathers and sons, and God's intervention so many times is to build and restore man's relationship to him. God provides assurance to struggling men and to us. He provides hope, gives direction, and does what he says he will do. It is clear he wants harmony and fellowship with man and between men. I want to go back to the central idea again. And I want us to look at the verbs, because you know what? It's action we have to. We can't just think about this. We have to act. Important. First of all, one of the commentators I read said, reconciliation is something done by the one who offers it. Offers it. It is not just something that happens to estranged people. Like, you know, you might be walking around in Publix with your husband, you know you got to deal with something with him, and it ain't just going to happen by magic. Somebody has to offer. Again, we continue to see the parallels in Joseph's life and Jesus' time on earth, as Anita has broken down for us several times in previous lessons to help us see just how clear those parallels are. It took the cross of Christ to reconcile both Jew and Gentile. How amazing that we would have our CBSI people here today. In Ephesians 2:6, it says, he made the two one by destroying the dividing wall of hostility. There's always some hostility in there. Abolishing in his flesh the law, making peace in this one body, to reconcile both of them, Jew and Gentile, to God, through the cross by which he put to death their hostility. And I think, you know, when we're thinking about Mike and Claudia, that's just a really good scripture to think about. Somebody has to initiate, to offer, to take action. James 2:17 tells us, don't merely listen to the word, do what it says. That's offering. 1 Peter 1:13 tells us, prepare our minds and hearts for action. See, we're all action figures and we don't even really know it. Joseph blurted out his dreams to his brothers at age 17, but 20 years later, his action to offer truth to his brothers is wise and a first step toward reconciliation. So just think about that. I got to make an offer. If I want to fix this, I got to make an offer. Telling the truth. It's sort of, first of all, you got to acknowledge it. What is the truth? What is really happening in here? You got to do that. Zechariah 8:16 says, "Speak the truth to each other." Now that's just pretty clear. I can remember that scripture. Judah had already started the truth telling last week. So we begin to hope for reconciliation even then, which is why some of us went ahead and read forward. But Joseph goes for it, and he teaches us something about the action of telling the truth. When he spoke further to them after telling them, I am Joseph, he got close to them. Okay? If you're going to tell the truth, then get in close proximity to whom you're telling. Don't phone them. Don't send an email or a text. Joseph also eased their minds by saying, do not be distressed. That was just a relief to me when I read it. He acknowledged the brokenness, and he will do more about this, even in future chapters as we go along. For us, this action step of telling the truth involves some things. We're going to come back to this later, but we're going to get to this first. Okay, I got to tell the truth to you. My husband's the easiest example. This is what happened. This is what I did. This is what resulted. And I'm really sorry. And I don't want us to stay broken. And I'll do whatever it takes to fix or mend or restore this. We'll come back to even parts of this in a minute. But I want to go back. It worked. This is why I need it when I'm off this. Make every effort or personal change. This means we're going to put some considerable effort into reconciling and make some considerable personal changes to move in that direction. So it's kind of like you're going to go for a walk. And you say, well, I'll go around the circle. I live in a condo complex. I'll go around the circle once. That's not very much effort. Well, maybe I'll go 4 times. And then somebody challenges me to do it 6, and I'm like, oh, it's that kind of effort. Restore. This means harmonize, to go back to the music analogy. Even with the passage of so much time, the relationships in this family can again come into harmony. I was reminded here of a song that's been in my head since the 1970s, and I really hope this works.
Oh, I know which one.
Oh! It's not embedded.
I can sing it for you.
Oh! It's supposed to have an arrow.
Teach the world to sing in perfect harmony,
etc., etc. I have a whole commercial embedded in there. And so this is a time for me to tell you, I have some reconciling with my husband to do when I go home. Last night, I've thought about this thing for a week, but there have been so many things that I sat down and I got all the way through slide 10. And I hadn't saved anything. And my computer went, we've lost contact with PowerPoint. And by this time it's 9:30. And you know, the first thing Tim said to me was, why do you always leave this till the last minute? And the fact is, I didn't really leave it till the last minute. I'm a morning person. I have to work in the morning. So I couldn't even find the background I was using. So I started over, and here we are. Okay. So perhaps that's not right. That's why this isn't embedded. But thank you for singing. For a bunch of weeks now, we've lived with problems, secrecy, fears, hurts, lies, and uncertainties in Jacob's family. Don't you sometimes want to yell at what you're reading? Don't do that! Will you ever change? Even when we know how the story goes, we think these things still. And maybe we do that because we can look back over our lives and wonder, why did I do that? And will they, that's easier, ever change? We can't just wish for perfect harmony like in the Coke commercial. Even in the Coke commercial, there's action. Teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. So let's dig around a little more into broken relationships. We're almost done. So what causes brokenness in relationships? James 4:1-3 asks us, what causes fights and quarrels among you? And paraphrasing, you want something and you don't get it, so you quarrel and you fight about it. And you don't ask God about it, and even if you do, you ask with the wrong motives. Let me give you an example. Dear God, I am so troubled. Would you make my husband see what's going on? That's kind of a wrong motive. We have a heart problem. Jeremiah 17:9 tells us the heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it? Psalm 51:7 tells us God wants a broken and contrite heart. We have a pride problem. We know God opposes the proud but gives grace to the humble. So the solution? Get real. Remove yourself and your wants from the situation. Get humble. Then tell the truth about you. You know what? None of us can tell what the other guy is feeling, what his emotions are, what her thinking is. We just are guessing that. All we can tell the truth about is us. And that means we gotta kind of lay it out there, confess it. As we've watched Jacob's boys mature, we've seen changes. Am I on slide? I can't see.
It doesn't tell you on
It doesn't tell me on that one. Especially as we've gotten to know Rachel and Jacob's sons, Joseph and Benjamin, and 3 of Leah and Jacob's sons, Reuben, Simeon, and Judah. Think about what we've learned about them since they were born. We've seen the sins of their youth. Oops. Nope. Hold on a minute. Here we go. We've seen the sins of their youth. Just as a sidelight, I believe maturity. Teens, don't listen to this. For girls, starts about age 26. And for boys, around 30. Yeah, I have one of each, and that is my only, but I'm watching my grandchildren now. I think it's still true. One thing these sons of Jacob seem to have done a fair amount of is self-reflection. Galatians 6:4 tells us each one should test his own action. Self-reflection, self-testing, is an important component of getting to the point of being able to make every effort to be changed in order to reconcile with one another. This is probably important enough for a slide. Now let me hope it gets there. No, we're going to go back. This is, I didn't make one. Making every effort to change whatever needs to be changed in order to be reconciled to one another. I have to see how my actions impact another, and I have to own whatever sin is involved. To own the sin is being broken and contrite over your part, and to be sorry for it. Don't you know Judah's unknowingly sleeping with his daughter-in-law convicted of him of his unrighteousness and contributed to who he became? And same with his speech to Joseph when the silver cup was discovered in Benjamin's sack. He confessed the truth and asked to take Benjamin's place as a slave. It is the action that reflects change. And a deeper step in self-reflection is what each of us knows, that God made Christ to be sins for us. Christ, through the cross, made reconciliation with God possible. Why would we hold on to resentments, pride, jealousy, bitterness toward one another when God willingly took on that sin through Christ and nailed it to the cross. Ask yourselves, will I seek reconciliation with God in an area of struggle or brokenness in my relationship with Him? Will I seek reconciliation where there are broken relationships in my life? I want to go home and tell Tim I'm really sorry for yelling at him last night. If brokenness is there in any relationship, let it go. Acknowledge you don't want it anymore, and believe that Jesus takes it and casts it as far as east is from west. Then go and be reconciled. Let's stand and sing. Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, early in the morning our song shall rise to Thee. Holy, 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 merciful and mighty, God in three persons, blessed Trinity. Father, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for just the incredible way you expand our eyes and expand our ears. Help us to take the things that are important to us to heart and to make every effort to do as you want us to do. We love you in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.